Dinosaur King is an arcade game made by Sega in 2005. It was a game where players could collect different dinosaur cards with different elements and use them to fight other dinosaurs. Basically, it was their version of Pokemon. Then, in 2008, they released a version of the game for the Nintendo DS. I remember playing both of these games as a kid, and today I decided to do a Nuzlocke challenge of the DS version of the game, because as far as I'm concerned, no one else has. With that brief introduction out of the way, here are the rules for this challenge. With that out of the way, let's begin. At the start of the game, we're introduced to a scientist named Reese. And she's super excited because she just made an invention that can bring back dinosaurs to life. This invention is a gun called a Dino Shot. And instead of using fossilized DNA, it uses these cards with dinosaurs on them. Suddenly, everything goes black. And Reese soon realizes that one of the Dino Shots is missing. When the lights come back, we get introduced to the main villains of this game. This is the Alpha Gang, and they're led by Dr. Z, a scientist that wants to use the dinosaurs to take over the world and become king. Hence the name of the game, Dinosaur King. He uses the stolen Dino Shot to summon a red Tyrannosaurus Rex. Except this isn't any normal T-Rex, it's a T-Rex with fire powers named Terry, and Terry doesn't actually want to fight. In fact, he's actually pleading for someone to stop him. We then get to pick our character as well as our first dinosaur. Our options are the cool and calm Rex with his Carnotaurus, or the energetic Max and his Triceratops. Now before, in previous playthroughs, I've always picked Max and his Triceratops. However, for this challenge, I'm going to be picking Rex and his Carnotaurus to mix things up a little bit. After choosing our character, we summon our own dinosaur to fight the Alpha Gang. This is when we get into the tutorial. Unlike in Pokemon, this game has 3 moves: rock, paper, and scissors. In order to move and attack, we need to choose the correct move and win rock, paper, scissors. If we win, we attack. But if our opponent wins, they attack us. We also get introduced to critical moves, which are these moves with jagged edges. These are a dinosaur's strongest attack, and you can get stronger attacks the more you level up. After beating the T-Rex, we level up to level 2, and gain the Tackle Move card. Move cards are attacks you have to set to your dinosaurs in order to use them. Having been defeated, the Alpha Gang retreat back to their base. There, we learn in order for them to succeed, they need some artifacts called stone fragments, which they've already located in Europe. Dr. Z sends 2 of his followers, Ursula and Ed, as well as some robots called Alpha Droids, to Europe to retrieve them. But his granddaughter Laura gets jealous of not getting to go and starts crying really loudly, causing Dr. Z to send her with Ed instead of Ursula, which was a little funny. Back with the main cast, which are part of a group called the D Team, we get told that dinosaurs are out of control in Europe, so we make our journey there by using the lab's teleporter and arrive in a place called Eurotown. After arriving in Europe, we talk to the leader of the team's European branch, who teaches us about these buildings called D-sites, which are basically this game's version of a Pokemon Center. Then, we made our way up north, because that's where we were told the Alpha Gang will be. Before we can leave, however, the gatekeeper there tells us that the Alpha Gang had kidnapped a small child, and asks us to go look for him. It didn't take long because he was actually nearby, being harassed by some Alpha Droids, who want his fossil. Ed is also there as well, but he manages to get away, leaving us to deal with the Alpha Droids. We fight the droids with our dinosaurs, and this is how the battle mechanic works in this game. Like I said before, we need to choose the correct move and win rock, paper, scissors. But in order to win, we need to pay attention to what Reese says, and choose our attack carefully. After ramming into our opponent, we win the fight and the droids self-destruct, allowing us to save the kidnapped child, who gives us a fossil as a thank you gift. One minigame later, we revive the fossil and get our second team member, an Irritator that I named Crest, after the red crest on its head. I also took this time to name my Carnotaurus Ace, because canonically that's what Max names his dinosaur. After that, we talk to the head of the branch again, who gives us a radar. Unfortunately, it's broken, but it's not all bad, because there's a scientist there that can help fix it. When talking to the scientist, He says he'll help us if we get back the mass-produced drill that the Alpha Gang stole from him. We accept the offer, and he tells us that the Alpha Gang is hiding in a nearby mine northeast of the town. After finding the mine, I found the droid that had the stolen drill and managed to beat him without taking any damage at all. Back in the town, we gave the drill and radar to the scientist, who fixes both of them for us. Unfortunately, he's too busy to teach us how to use them, so instead, he sends us to go see a master excavator so we can learn how to use it from him instead. After finding him, he teaches us how to use the radar and drill to dig for fossils. And this is how we get new team members in this game. Instead of catching them and adding them to our team, we have to dig them up and then revive them at the D site. During the tutorial, we discovered that there is actually a fossil underneath the very spot where we're standing. We pull out our drill and got ourselves an iguanodon, who I named Aladar. I then went back to the mine where I fought the Alpha Droid that stole the drill and found not one but 2 European fossils. One of which was a Neovanator that I named Neo, and another iguanodon who I sent back to its own time because I already had one. Now Neo here is what this game calls a wind-type dinosaur. Since Ace was already a wind type, I decided to add Aladar to the team instead since he's a grass dinosaur. We then talk to the gatekeeper to the south of the town, who tells us that his dad, aka the mayor, went to another dig site up north to try and stop the Alpha Gang himself. We managed to find the mayor, but he's injured his leg. He says that he came up here to reason with the Alpha Gang, but it didn't work out. They tried to capture him, but then according to him, some sort of fast animal saved him. He then asks us to go back to town to tell his son to come get him, and that's exactly what we do. We head back to town and tell his son what happened, and then he goes off to get his dad. When we meet him again, Rex and Max ask him about the animal that saved him. The mayor says that he thinks that it might have been the forest dweller, a creature from an old folk tale. He doesn't know much about it, but he says that the gardener located in the south might know more about it. But before that, we still need to defeat the Alpha Gang in the nearby dig site. At the dig site, I fought some droids that were guarding some items. Unfortunately, I didn't think about healing after fighting one of them. And because of that, I lost my iguanodon Aladar, so I had to go back to the D site and put Neo onto my team. After some grinding, I went back and found Max yelling at Laura. Understandably not liking that someone is yelling at her, Laura starts to cry so loud that it causes the dig site to start shaking and sends Max flying across the screen. Not liking that, we step up to fight her and her dinosaurs. Laura here uses wind dinosaurs, and starts off by saying that critical moves are a no-no, which I thought meant that she was going to use the attack that was my critical move, which was paper, but her attack ended up being scissors instead. After that, she says that she knows exactly what I'm thinking. Her attack this time was rock, and fortunately for me, I ended up choosing paper. Then she says, maybe I won't do a critical move this time. I don't exactly remember why, but I guess I didn't believe her because I ended up picking scissors and we tied. She then repeats what she said last time, and I choose paper again, and take her first dinosaur down. Next up was her Dilophosaurus. Once again, she talks about how bad critical moves are. After thinking it over for some time, I ended up making the right choice and choose rock. Then she says she's going to take me out with a different move. I thought this time she was going to use rock, but we ended up tying with paper. Then she said she's going to show me what a girl can do, which was a dead giveaway that she was going to use her critical move. Her dinosaur survives with 1 HP somehow, and once again says that she was going to take me out with a different move. This time, however, she ended up being right because I ended up choosing scissors and she chose rock. And because of that, we lost our second dinosaur, Neo. Fortunately, that was our only casualty, and I ended up beating her with a rock tie. Now that she's defeated, we take the stone fragment that she was after, as well as her dino shot. But before she leaves, she tells us that the Alpha Gang have already found another stone fragment. Back in town, Reese tells us that she's picking up a signal from that stone fragment, coming from a coal mine in the south. Then, the branch leader comes up to us and tells us that the Alpha Gang took out the power for the entire town. Thankfully, the D site is still functional thanks to a backup generator. So now, we have to go to the mayor to ask him to open up the gate to the south so we can stop them. But before all of that, I went inside the D site to send Neo back to his own time. After that, we went to the mayor's house and tell him that we drove out the Alpha Gang out of the north, and now we're going to help restore the town's power, but only if he opens up the gate to the south. At first he's a bit reluctant to let us go there, because the gang is hiding in an old coal mine which is impossible to get through because of a place called Straywood Forest. So he figures that we should go talk to the gardener named Don, because he might know how to get through and tell us more things about the forest dweller. We then find the gardener, who seems to have lost the key to his garden. He says that he seemed to have dropped the key while he was napping earlier. However, when we go to look for it, we find this old gentleman who tells us he wasn't napping at all, but he had actually tripped and fell. It seems like he was too embarrassed to admit that he tripped, so he just told us he was napping instead. We then find the key and give it back to him. However, after he enters his garden, he gets attacked by an alpha droid, who I then fought. After saving him, we asked him how to get through the Straywood Forest, and what he knows about the forest dweller. He tells us he doesn't know anything about either of them, but he does know someone that might. A friend of his named Tom, who's all the way back in the northern dig site where we fought Laura. But before we go there, however, I dug up an European fossil in his garden, which ended up being an Allosaurus, who I named Al, and happily added to the team. After some grinding, I headed back to the north dig site and found Tom, who after finding out we're trying to defeat the Alpha Gang, gives us the forest flute. He says that by playing it, we will be able to summon the forest dweller, but only if we play in front of Straywood Forest. Back in the south, we then approached the Straywood Forest and played the flute to summon the creature. It turns out that the forest dweller was actually a dinosaur called a
Leolinosaura.
How this thing managed to survive so long to the point of being a subject of a folktale story is beyond me. Anyway, after summoning it, it seems like it wants us to get on its back. We do so, and it takes us through the forest and straight to the coal mine where the Alpha Gang are. While there, I dug up some fossils before entering the boss fight. We then find Ed, who has set up his own little private base, and he plans on taking over every machine in the world using his supercomputer, which is why the nearby town is out of power. Not wanting to let that happen, we engage into a fight with him and his Earth dinosaurs. He starts off by saying that he has us all figured out, which is a dead giveaway that he's going to use his critical move. I chose scissors and attacked first. He then says he'll try his luck with a different move, which sounded like he was going to use the move that I just used, and I ended up being right. Next, he says no more critical moves, which only means he's going to choose either paper or rock. I ended up choosing paper, and we tied. After that, he taunts me for thinking about trying to break that previous tied move. I thought he was going to go with scissors, but we ended up tying again, this time with rock. He says the exact same thing again, and for some reason I didn't catch on from the previous ties, and ended up losing to his scissors. To make things worse, his attack got me to red health, and I had no idea what he was going to do next, so I decided to switch dinosaurs. Turns out, he was going for his critical move. After that, he runs out of MP for his scissors, so the only options left are either rock or paper. His move ended up being paper, and we tied again. However, this time, he goes down. After that, he says he has us all figured out again, and this time I realize that when he says that, it means that he's going to try and beat our critical move. Luckily, I chose paper and threw his dinosaur into a rock. But after that, he doesn't say anything. Not wanting to risk losing my starter, I switched again. Turns out he was going to beat our last move by choosing scissors. Then he says this is how it's going to be, which is his way of saying that he's going to use the same attack again. After that, he once again doesn't say anything. Not knowing what to do, I go for my critical move, but that ended up being the wrong choice because he chose rock. To make matters worse, his rock attack is what's called a super move. Basically, a super move makes a dinosaur stronger depending on its typing by changing the battlefield. In his case, he just gave his dinosaurs an advantage by changing the battlefield into an Earth battlefield. Luckily after that, he goes for the same move again, and I get him to red health. After one last attack, I win the fight. After the fight, Ed's supercomputer gets destroyed, while we get the stone fragment that he had. He then runs off and Matt shows up. We then get a transmission from Reese. After telling her that we have the stone fragments, she tells us to head back to the lab. Back with the Alpha Gang, Dr. Z expresses his disappointment at Laura and Ed for failing to get the stone fragments. Almost immediately afterwards, Ursula comes in and tells them that they found another stone fragment in Asia. This time, he sends Laura's brother Rod and this cockroach-looking guy named Xander. Back at the lab, while talking to Reese, our friend Zoe comes in with some horrible news. There have been reports of some sort of sleeping sickness spreading throughout the Gobi village in Asia. People are falling asleep and not getting back up. And apparently, there have also been rumors about dragon sightings over there as well. There are also reports about robots roaming around and causing chaos. Not liking that, Max and Rex get ready to move and we transition to the game's next chapter, Deep Sleep in Asia. Upon arriving in the Gobi village, I went to restore the fossils that I got from the coal mine in Europe. And they ended up being another Allosaurus that I sent back to its own time, because I already had one, and an Earth dinosaur named disinterest that I named disinterest because it sounded like the Mentis from Furiosa. While leaving the village, we run into Rod, who says he's going to get back at us for what we did to his sister Laura. He tells us there's a stone fragment at a place called Darkwood Forest, and challenges us to a race to see who can get it first. We then made our way to the Darkwood Forest, and upon arriving, Max and I decided to split up to search for the stone fragment. After fighting some droids, we see that Max got to the end of the forest first. But he didn't find the stone fragment. It turns out Rod got to it first, and he has no intention of giving it up. But he will if we beat him in a dinosaur battle. Rod here uses lightning dinosaurs, and starts off by saying that he's going to play it safe for now, and he won't let us have our way with things. Which to me, at first sounded like he was going to beat my critical move, which was scissors, so I went with paper. But that was the wrong choice, because he ended up picking scissors, and now I'm already at half health. He then says he sees what's coming, and I had no idea what this meant, so I ended up switching to the Centis. Turns out, he thought we were going for our critical move. After that, he doesn't say anything, and after freezing up a bit, I assumed that he was going to use the same attack again, so I went with paper. And that ended up being the right choice. Since the Centis' paper attack was a super move, it meant that the battlefield would now change to give me an advantage. Despite taking damage, he still remains quiet. Now that I had finally done some damage, I assumed that he would try and beat my last attack. Thinking he would go for scissors, I went with rock, but we ended up tying instead. After that, he finally starts talking again, and says that he's going to stop that tying move, which was an easy one to understand, and I take out his first dinosaur. After sending out his second dinosaur, he once again says he's going to play it safe. I still didn't understand what this meant at the time, so I just went with rock, which was the wrong choice because he went with paper. With the Centis now at red health, I decided to switch to Crest, only to once again be brought to half health. To make matters worse, he had to use a super move, and now the environment is now a lightning battlefield, which made all of his dinosaurs stronger. He once again says that he sees what's coming, and I still had no idea what this meant, so I just went with scissors. I probably should have thought about this more carefully, because he ended up choosing rock, and because of my own carelessness, I lost Crest. After that though, this time I was the one who saw what was coming, and picked scissors to change the lightning battlefield into a wind battlefield. He then makes it obvious he's going to use his critical move, which was rock, so I went with paper. This was a good thing because Ace's paper attack was called Revenge Frill, a move that increases damage after a dinosaur gets attacked. He then again says he sees what's coming, and I thought he was going to go with scissors to beat my last attack, but we both ended up tying again with rock. The difference this time though is that he goes down. Now he was down to his last dinosaur. At this point I still didn't understand what he meant by playing it safe, and ended up choosing the wrong move and lost my starter to a thunder tackle. It was only after losing Ace that I realized that playing it safe meant that he was going to use the move that was the critical move of the dinosaur I currently had in battle. With the Centis now my only hope, he once again says he sees what's coming, and this time I ended up choosing the right move. My happiness doesn't last, however, because after that, he tells me to expect a different move. For whatever reason, something just kept telling me that he was going to go with rock again, and I paid the price for it by losing the Sentis. With that, I've lost the fight, as well as the entire Nuzlocke challenge, to Rod. After the fight, he commends me for at least trying my best, and not cheating. And to be honest, I can kinda respect him for that.